welcome to today's meeting, Small Scale Farmers Colloquium. And in today's meeting, we have three presentations that we'll hear. We'll hear from Ignacio's Mesa, who is a vine grower in Camp Verde. He's going to talk to us about his sustainable practices that he's doing in his vineyard. And then after that, we'll hear from Kate, who also talk about no-till that he's doing on his property. And then we'll hear from Samantha as well from Local First Arizona. So without much ado, I'll open the floor to Mesa Ignacio to tell us about how he's producing his grapes, how he does the wine, and then how he's integrating geese into his grape, and then also fish into his pond before watering the grapes. All right, so Ignacio, if you can hear me, please let's hear from you now. You can turn your video on and then give us your presentation.
Okay. When I was young, I wanted to be an architect or an engineer, but I couldn't determine at the time what I wanted to be. So I heard about that the U of A was offering viticulture classes free to young students that wanted to get into farming. So since I couldn't make a decision what I wanted to do, I took the 3 semesters of viticulture, and we learned how to grow grapes organic and non-organic, how to train them, how to graft them, how to irrigate them and fertilize them. And we worked in 2 vineyards. One of them was organic and one wasn't. The organic farmer made wine, and he gave us a presentation on how to make wine. And I learned quite a bit, and I also learned that I could not pursue the industry because I didn't have any money. I learned how much it costs. So my career path went in another direction. I went to engineering, into mechanical engineering. And after a few years, I was promoted to a project manager to manage construction projects on dams and power plants. And so I made homemade wine along the way during my career at where I worked. After 30 years there, I decided that I would like to buy some property to plant a vineyard. So in 1997, I started looking for a piece of land, and I combed an area 75 miles wide from Flagstaff to Cave Creek, which is north of Phoenix, and also down in southern Arizona around Oracle and Sonora.
Ignacio, like can you please turn your video on?
Oh, it's not on?
No.
Okay, let me see.
Let me see if I can do that. Oh, video is not on. We can hear you all right, but just the video. I'll try and see if I can turn that on here as well. Yeah.
Okay. How much of it did you hear? Do you want to start over again?
Yeah, so you were talking about where you came into, after U of A, you came into producing organic and inorganic grapes.
Okay.
We heard all of it. We just don't see your video.
Oh, okay. I don't know how to do that. Let me see.
You just go ahead with the conversation, okay?
Okay. Okay. So I went into engineering, and then but I made homemade wine along the way. After 30 years working for the company I worked for, which was a Salt River Project, in Phoenix, Arizona, I decided that I would like to buy some property and start a vineyard. So I combed an area 75 miles away from Flagstaff to Cave Creek, north of Phoenix, looking for a place to buy. And water was very important, and also soil and weather. So I selected an area in the Verde area, a little parcel of land. Gets water, it has water rights from the West Clear Creek. The water is pristine. There's no development on the creek. So there's no pollution in the water. And the property has riparian water rights dating back to 1875. And it's a 3,200 feet elevation. The weather is very conducive to planting the wine grapes. It likes warm days and cool nights. In the summer, it gets up to the low hundreds here, but it cools down every night into the 60s and 70s, which is very good for wine grapes. So I decided to buy the piece of land and plant a vineyard. And I always wanted to farm using organic methods. And I had heard of I read an article where in Mississippi, the cotton farmers would use geese to weed the cotton fields. There was a lot of Johnson grass. So I kind of banked that idea that maybe I could use geese to weed my vineyard. So I trained my vineyard very high so they wouldn't get the grapes and they could weed the vineyard so I didn't have to use any herbicides. I also purchased some chickens that to control the insects. So I wouldn't have to buy any pesticides. And I planted my test vineyard in 2000, and I trained my vineyard using bilateral training, and my soil was very rich, so I had to cut back on the canes because they were going too large. So I decided to go to a quadrilateral training, which means 4 arms instead of 2, because of the vigor in my soil. At that time, I also decided to build a pond on my property and run the water from the creek into the pond. The water kind of came in from a ditch from the river, and it had a lot of fish in it. All the fish there in the creek self-planted into my pond. And so I was able to get the water out of the pond to water my vineyard. I constructed 4 siphons around the pond so I can water my vineyard, and I positioned the pond in an area where I could irrigate the majority of my vineyard. By using a siphon, I could siphon the water out of Hello?
Yeah, there's some noise in the background.
Yeah, I hear the noise.
Okay.
Okay, looks like it disappeared now.
Yeah, it's good
So
now.
I position my siphons on the pond where I can irrigate 70% of my vineyard from the water in the pond that contain fish manure. I got the water from the bottom of the pond that was high in nitrogen, and I used that to irrigate my vineyard without electricity. I also planted a cover crop in my vineyard. I use vetch, clover, peas, and winter rye, and it would plant it in the autumn of the year, and it put a nitrogen fix into my soil, And then in the late spring, I would mow it down and left the debris on the surface for it to feed the vineyard. I also recently decided to mulch all the pruning cuttings of the vineyard that occurs in the spring in place on the ground with a machine that I purchased. It's a DR mower. So I was growing up the cuttings and leaving them in the soil so they can decompose and also add nutrients to the soil. I started a mulch pile 3 years ago. All of the pumice of my vines are placed in a mulch pile. When I'm crushing the stem, I put the stems in there, and also the pumice, the seeds, and the skins. And I'll add wood chips and some manure, and wet it down and decompose it. And I use that to also fertilize my vineyard. And that's how I farm here in the Verde.
Oh, Ignacio, thank you very much. Yeah, so basically what Ignacio has been saying is, this is his vineyard. Actually, this picture, I took it from his vineyard, and you can see the geese that he was talking about that he used to control the weeds and then the pests as well. And then one thing that is also very unique about Ignacio's vineyard is that he is watering very deep. He's not using sprinklers, he's rather using deep watering. So you see under the vineyard, you can see some little trenches. That is how he waters. So the water from the pond come into these ditches and he waters it deep. So even when there is kind of like water shortage, according to him, the vineyards can go up to 4 weeks without being watered, and they will still be fine because they have this deep rooting systems that because of the deep watering that he's doing. And also the fish pond is serving as a nitrogen source that when he water from the fish pond, he's getting his vineyard being fertilized with the manure from the droppings from the fish in the pond, which is very sustainable system that he's using there. So if there are any questions, let's ask any questions now before we go to the next presentation. Do we have any more questions for Ignacio? Ignacio, how long do you compost your grape pomace? How long does it take to compost it before you use it?
I usually don't use it until it's been composted for about 3 years.
Oh, 3 years.
Yeah,
Okay.
I keep adding to it every year,
Mm-hmm.
and so it just keep recycling everything. So every 3rd year, I'm putting that back into my vineyard.
Okay, okay. And the geese, do you know the population of the geese that you use in your vineyards? How big is your vineyards, and what is the population of the geese that you use to control the weeds and pests?
I started with 30 geese and 30 chickens,
Mm-hmm.
and they started to mate, and they multiplied. But I found out that they were vulnerable to the varmints in the areas of coyotes and the raccoons.
Oh.
So I had to build a coop for them to bring them in at night. But they didn't like to lay their eggs in the coop like the chickens. They like to lay their eggs in the vineyard. So it was a problem for me to try and get them into the coop because the hens won't stay with their eggs. And so I had to try and round them up every night, but sometimes I wasn't able to get them. And of course, the coyotes, took advantage of them and started feeding on the geese. So right now I only have about half of the ones that are purchased, because that's a problem having geese. They don't like to come into the coop like the chickens, and they get consumed by the coyotes.
Okay. There's another nice question there for you, that how does the water from the pond get to the beach? Is it pumped or channeled?
It's channeled. We have a ditch coming from the creek. It's about a mile long, and it goes through a pipeline and into an open ditch when it gets to our property. And I put a gate in the ditch and constructed the pond where when you raise the water in the ditch, it flows into the pond. And that's how I fill my pond, is from the ditch. It comes from the creek.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, so when you go to Ignacio's place, the way he did everything by himself, and the way he engineered it, so the pond is a little bit elevated, so he gets the water into the pond. So he doesn't actually use any pump to pump the water into the vineyard. He just uses the channels that have been created, and also the gravity helps with that. So that is also a sustainable way of not having to deal with power and things like that. All right. Are there more questions for Ignacio this time? Okay. Ignacio, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. Please find time and go to his property at Camp Verde. Yeah, if you are somebody who likes to pick wine, he prepares wine as well. You can get some wine from there as well. Yeah, all right, Ignacio, we thank you very much for your time.
Yeah,
Kate, can you hear me? Kate, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, so
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
You can hit your screen share, and then let's hear from you as well.
Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Hopefully, can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Isaac, is she a co-host?
Oh,
You need to make her a co-host.
Sorry. Kate, what username are you using? Oh, it's right here. The Wild Heart Farm, right?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, you should be able to share now.
Okay.
Mary, thank you.
Yeah. Are you able to see the screen now?
Not still. Okay. I can share my screen. I think I have your slide open up.
Okay.
Let me try and see if I can get yours.
I can try one more time sharing the screen.
Okay.
Desktop. Here we go. Google share.
There we go. Yes.
Okay. Let's
All right.
see.
We are good now.
How's that?
It's loading.
Okay.
Yes, it's
Taking
loading.
a minute. Well, while it's loading, I can just introduce myself. My name's Kate Waters, and I am I'm calling or sharing with you here from Wild Heart Farm, which is the farm where I grow in Rimrock, Arizona. Can you see it now?
Yeah, we can see it now.
Okay.
Good.
And I am a micro flower farm. We're growing on about just shy of an acre. We have a custodial agreement with our neighbor for another third of an acre, where we're hoping to actually have our field property that we can grow in the field. We're at 3,400 feet. The farm is that's me. And this is our I'm seriously a micro operation at this point, because it's just me. And we grow, we're on the ancestral lands of the Yavapai Apache here about 2 miles from Montezuma's Well. We're right across from Beaver Creek. So we're in the floodplain. You can see we have giant ash trees, Arizona ash trees. We have about 20 different varieties of fruit trees, and we grow mainly flowers and specialty cut flowers. And I am a self-taught florist. So how I'm actually earning money as a farmer is by being a floral arrangements for weddings. I have weekly flower shares that involve a poem, and I do online orders. So I wanted today to share with you, I'll just say I come from being a botanist for about 15 years and working in conservation and doing a lot of invasive management and studying impacts of humans on our ecosystems as relate to plants. So I became a farmer about 5 years ago. And I'm really interested in how I can do better to create better soil conditions for our farm. We have a lot of invasive plants, a lot of hordeum or foxtail grass, Bermuda grass, and many other invasive mustards. And so I started last year, we've only been here a year. I started last year with some different experiments with sheet mulching. And I actually do have a tractor, a BCS tractor, but I'm actually probably going to sell it because I haven't used it in a year and it has all the attachments. And so I'm just looking to get really super small and use less inputs. So this is an experiment here where we took our raw compost out of our little compost spinner, which we mix with I grow a lot of microgreens, and so then we just put that on the ground as a base layer with the ground really wet, and then we add the cardboard, and then we add a layer of compost on top of that with leaves, and then more compost, and then some wood chips. And then you can see this is the difference kind of in a small area that we start out usually with a tarp for several months. So you can see here, this is where we're building a perennial area, and we had a tarp. I get them from the billboard companies on Craigslist. So I can oculate, which is the technical term for, I have to do it, usually for several months to be able to keep the Bermuda grass, to cut the Bermuda grass off. So here is the broad forking, this is my sister here on the left, we're broad forking. So that's after 2 months of being under the tarp. And then we layered that, we had compost, it's like a lasagna method. So compost, and then cardboard, and then compost, and then growing cover crops on top. And so you can see this is buckwheat and some Sudan grass. And then this is sort of over the course of last season. So you can see the evolution. The buckwheat is only like 30 to 45 days. So then I put a tarp on that, cut it down. I use a weed whacker and a little lawnmower, with a Bridges Stratton motor on it or engine on it to whack my crops down. And then this is basically what the soil looked like in December on the left. And then this is that same garden looking the other direction. And it's now a perennial garden for peonies. I had daffodils, I have lilies, and that's my little propagation house. And then I'm using cover crops in my high tunnel as well to build soil. Buckwheat is one of my favorite for attracting pollinators. And buckwheat's a really short crop. It's only 45 days really, and it's very, it's not very fibrous, so it breaks down really fast. Another one that I like is growing oats, Venus sativa. So you can see the way my high tunnel is set up. It's I have the ability to grow on either side as a whole cover crop, or then I've also built permanent beds with drip irrigation, because I grow really small amounts of flowers and I do multiple successions. So I try to integrate at least one cover crop a year. So then what's fun is, we're really interested in how the cover crops feed humans as well. So milky oat seed is actually a great nervous system tonic that helps us restore our stress from stress, and then it's great, breaks down in the soil, and the roots attract microorganisms. So this is our orchard area, and you can see this. So last October we planted sort of the soil building cover crop mix from that has a bunch of peas and cayuse oats and vetches in it. And then this is basically last week, those are starting to flower. And you can kind of see, we like to use a lot of the different clovers and pea species in the mixes because they help fix nitrogen in the soil and make that more available to our trees. I also like to use the cover crops in floral design. This is the Sudan grass on the left, and then the vetches and the peas really work well, and I make wreaths and stuff. And so in the fall, it's really fun to use a lot of those cover crops, and the oats as well. So another thing that we've done on the farm is we had this big bare slope, and really I've been passionate about pollinators and native plants for most of my life. So we got a grant from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service through the Friends of the Verde River. And we took this slope and we were able to build terraces on it. And so last summer, the grant helped me. I had to make an in-kind contribution as well with labor and resources, but this helped me hire some people to help, which this is a friend from Plants for the People in Flagstaff, who's a permaculturalist. So we designed this and brought all the rock in and built these terraces. And now we just had I saw my first hummingbird sipping out of our penstemon that started blooming last week. We've got a mix of 75 different species, native and otherwise, growing throughout the farm as part of the pollinator program. We've been doing some fun stuff with just community events, dancing and planting seeds into the ground. This is a low water native lawn that that we danced in, and we're doing all of our dances and on the the holidays on the calendar that are in between the solstices and kind of the earth celebrations really, so this is fun. Only a few months really, and you can see that this mix has grown really well. And this is a mix of clover, rye, yarrow, and native grasses. And then just the last thing I'll say is that we are also keeping our poop in the loop. So we have a composting toilet that's designed by the Arizona Department of Water Quality. So hopefully in about 6 months after our first barrel is composted, we'll be able to add that to our fertility with the fruit trees. And that's about it for me. I thank you for hearing about what we're doing, and I'm excited about this colloquium.
Thank you very much. That was brief and comprehensive. Maybe
I
I'll
didn't want to
start
go
with
over my time, so I kept it fast.
Yeah, that's right. That was super comprehensive. Yeah, so one question that I'll ask is that when you use a cardboard to control the Bermuda grass, when you remove the cardboard, do the Bermuda grass come back on, or you are mostly like fully having control over them?
It's still, so it depends. What I've noticed is it depends on how long we leave those tarps on, and how well we fully oculate. If you have even one small area that's not under the tarp, then the Bermuda grass crawls to the light. So we've had the best luck when we've done it for at least 2 months in the hottest part of the summer. And then we mulch the row, any of our paths, we put landscape fabric down and then heavy mulch or cardboard and heavy mulch to keep, because anywhere that you find that anywhere there's a little crack of light, the Bermuda grass comes back. So then, but the good thing that I've noticed is even in that place that was a carpet of Bermuda grass, I just have like little stolons coming up now and then, and I can take care of it compared to it being a whole a whole huge swath of it.
Oh, okay, that's awesome. Did you try using like the plastic mulch as well? Or just use only cardboard?
We use the plastic mulch too. We have the landscape fabric because that is also because the cardboard breaks down over time and then becomes just organic matter. And then we've noticed that, you can keep adding wood chips. That's what we do use. We add wood chips on top of the paths, but it can come back. So I think if you want to have a more permanent control with the Bermuda, then it's good to have the landscape fabric, at least in the paths.
Awesome. I have more questions, but let me leave it out for others to also have the chance to ask you some questions. I'm sure they have some questions. So please unmute yourself and ask any more questions or leave it in the chat box.
Okay, I have to access the chat box here. What kind of attachments do I have on my BCS? I have a chipper, I have a flail mower, I have a rotary plow, a rotor tiller, and then a plastic mulch layer. So I really would love to sell this to somebody locally because it's such an awesome small farmer. It's an 850 diesel. It's a really powerful tool. I got it from another friend who was leaving town and he was a 1/4 acre. It's such a powerful tool, but I think I have such small beds that it's actually unwieldy for me and I'm not very good at maintaining equipment. So
I'll talk to you about that. Probably the small scale program will need it.
yeah, it would be cool if it could be used. So
there's another question that says that, did you say that the composting toilet was designed by the AZ department?
So the design actually it was designed by this really awesome couple in Southern Arizona, and they were able to test it and pilot it, and then the plans are now available and it's approved by the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. So you can find them online. If you want, I can send a little link here.
Yeah, that would
because
be
it's
awesome.
it's so cool, especially for a farm, because you have visitors all the time and you're out and about. I mean, we don't, use it every single day, like, in our household, but I mean, I use it most days because I really hate flushing my drinking water and using my well water in that way. So we also have a rainwater system for our farm that we're developing with our irrigation. So
cool, awesome. Any more questions for Kate? Okay, let's see. Kate, thank you very much for your time and your input. We really appreciate it. Let me make Samantha a co-host so we can hear from her. Samantha is going to talk to us about Verde Grown initiative that they've been working on. So talk to us a little bit about how farmers can come on board and utilize the tool as a marketing platform, I initially wanted to talk about marketing strategies, but she wanted to have some opportunity to share this information with you. And I think that it's very important that you get to know about the tool and see how you can utilize it as a farmer. So Samantha, let's hear about this initiative that you've been working on. Sure. For marketing.
Yeah. Can you guys see me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're good. Maybe you can put in the presentation mode.
Yeah. Hold on just a minute. Here we go. All right.
Okay, you're good.
Yeah, so my name's Samantha. I work with Local First Arizona on rural food projects. And I just wanted to share about this Verde Grown project. It's a regional marketing initiative. And actually, both Ignacio and Kate are already participating in the program. So it's nice to see you guys here. So this was a process. We partnered with the town of Camp Verde to put a steering committee together of local producers and local food advocates, including Friends of the Verde. And we started last October. The goal really was to come up with something that would represent Verde Valley, would resonate with producers and the values that the community holds. And so we went through a couple rounds of this branding process to come up with the logo, the name, and the tagline. So you can see in December, we had our first round, January, second round. And February, we created what's called a branding toolkit, which is a guide for producers that participate in the program on utilizing the logo and the brand. And everything was completed in March, and we just launched, I think, the first week of April. So we've been online for about a month. There we go. So benefits to producers, increased exposure. It's basically a free marketing opportunity, some opportunities for partnership within the community that's being created around Verde Grown, and access to some educational events that'll be upcoming in the summer and fall that Local First and Town of Camp Verde will be hosting. And to the community, it's also a tool for increasing tourism and agritourism, for attracting more food-related businesses or agriculture businesses to the area, to create a more resilient food system so you're less reliant on food producers outside of the community, and of course to increase access to healthy foods. So it's a program that helps our local Verde Valley producers hopefully get more business, get more exposure from local clients, but also on a statewide level as well. Characteristics of the brand include, most importantly, the stewardship of the Verde River, since our agriculture is so intertwined with the Verde River. The culture and heritage of the Verde Valley, including a longstanding agricultural community and a sense of being sort of the central breadbasket of Arizona. Maintaining ecological integrity, simple lifestyles, and along with stewardship of the river, water-wise growing practices. And so that's what the committee came up with. And then together we went through this process and came out with this brand with the logo Verde Valley, proudly grown in the Verde Valley. And I guess for Verde Valley clarification, we do include Sedona and Jerome and Rimrock, but nothing over the mountain. So if you're wondering if you might qualify, definitely send me an email if you're interested, and I'll show that at the end. So let me share some statistics with you. So we've been online for about a month. We have around 25 vendors that are now registered. We've done outreach to over 90 food producers. And we have 7 different community engagements that we're doing, where we also share some promotional materials. So for example, we were at the Pecan and Wine Festival, and we had these insulated grocery bags, which also has inside of it like a little sleeve for your wine bottle. And if you came to the festival and you purchased a product from one of the Verde grown vendors that were there, since we do have several wineries that are registered, and then you could come back to our table and basically get this free insulated bag. So people were excited about it. We got rid of a lot of bags, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. So we have those paper bags, stickers, canvas totes, and then we're working with Verde Valley Farmers Market, and Cornville Market is interested as well to use the Verde grown branding on their banners. Let's see, for our reach so far with social media, if this means anything to you, I can give you some numbers. Our reach has been over 28,000, impressions have been over 54,000. And statewide, we've sent this out through our various newsletters, listservs to over 49,000 of our subscribers around the state. And based on all these numbers and engagement with the website, which is verdegrown.com, in just the few weeks of April, we have already exceeded over half of the total of the other local food campaigns, with only being a few weeks in. So we've done several local food campaigns, Gila Valley and Superior, but this one has been the most successful by far. So it's exciting. So how you can support Verde Grown. If you're not a producer, you can access a directory of Verde Valley producers at verdegrown.com. It also will include producers that are not registered with Verde Grown but are in the Verde Valley, because that's on our Good Food Finder website, which is a directory for the state. But we do sort of showcase the vendors that are part of Verde Grown. And this is for more like municipal city leaders, different ideas that you could do to help promote Verde Grown if you're interested. For food producers, the application is also on verdegrown.com. It's a pretty brief application. Again, it's free, and you just fill in your information and then also send me some photos that we can then utilize in our advertising. And the online campaign is April through June. So we'll be pumping out content through June. Let's see, if we were in person, I would have tons of stuff to give away, but unfortunately we're not. Let's see, Verde Grown will be at the farmers markets. So yeah, if you're interested to learn a little bit more, you can reach me here, number and email. So far, it's been a pretty successful program, but it's only the beginning of a partnership that we have with the town of Camp Verde. So we'll be pursuing some other food-related projects this year and likely into next year, which have to do with providing some educational workshops based on your guys' input. We'll be doing some outreach as to like what topics you'd be interested to learn more about. Looking at other local market opportunities, so creating more, strengthening the local market for local foods. Yeah, lots of exciting things coming up. We're just kind of getting started in the Verde Valley, and so looking forward to working closer with the town and getting to know everyone. And thanks, Isaac, for the invitation. I know maybe you wanted to know more about general branding and marketing, but we're also open to other projects. We're talking with a couple farmers in Mojave County to do a local food campaign there, potentially, since branding and marketing is something that we do for a lot of rural communities within their tourism sort of initiatives as well. So yeah, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Samantha, thank you. for your presentation. And also just to let you know that at this point, we can ask Samantha any question that we want to get to ask so that we get to know about the initiative very well. Or we can ask general questions to any of the presenters that previously presented. So the floor is open now for more discussions. Elle, I thought you wanted to ask a question. Something in the chat. Samantha, this is a compliment. Say Brandon look great, and then thanks for the presentation as well. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't do anything with the branding, but I agree, it looks great. We worked with Marketing Mojo out of Flagstaff.
Okay, there's a question to Ignacio. Are you still there? Can you unmute yourself? Hopefully, yes. That's what kind of fish do you use in your pond? Ignacio, are you there? Let me unmute you. Okay.
Mute.
Okay, you're good
You
now.
hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
we can hear you now.
Okay, the fish in our pond were self-planted from the ditch coming from the creek. There are largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, bluegill, catfish, and in the winter we have a few trout that come into the pond.
Oh.
They're self-planted in there. There's moss in the bottom of the pond where they can hatch their young. The big fish eat the little fish, and there's enough cover to reproduce every year. So I don't do anything to it. It's self-sustaining, and they provide nutrients in the water for the vineyard.
Okay, that's good. So you mean you don't restock every year? They reproduce themselves in the pond?
Yeah, they self-produce. They're self-sustainable, and it's a balanced system. It works out really good. Yeah. In addition to that, in the winter, we have a lot of winter ducks that winter in my pond, and they like to eat the moss that's in the pond. So they also leave a deposit, and before they arrived, before they found my pond, I had to dredge my pond with all the moss that grew in there. But now that I have those winter visitors, they do that for me, and also they add more nutrients to the water.
That's awesome. I have a follow-up question. That is, do you clean up the pond sometimes? Does it get too dirty that you have to like desilt it sometimes?
No, we're fortunate that we got a grant to line our ditch, so the ditch is now lined with pipe, and then it goes into a concrete ditch. It doesn't have a lot of silt. I do not desilt it. I haven't had a reason to do that. So we're fortunate about that. I'm sure there's some down there, but it's not interfering with anything.
Okay, good. Yeah, so Ignacio was talking about, we have some few minutes. He was talking about it takes about 3 years to get the grape pomace decomposted. So I did some work on the composting grape pomace, and one thing I can surely say about it is that the grape pomace is acidic in nature, which is why it takes so long for it to decompose, because the more acidic you have the media, there's less microbial activities going on. So what you can do is to probably add like poultry manure to the grape pomace, and that will increase the pH in the pile a little bit, and that should increase microbial activities. And with that, you should be able to get your grape pomace well composted in within a year or so. Not up to, it shouldn't be up to the 3 years. It will take lesser time to get that composted instead of the 3 years. One other alternative is that the grape pomace, because it's very acidic, you could also grind it or pallet it and use it direct in your fields, especially in our area here where we have high pH soils. That will help kind of like reduce the pH a little bit in your soil. Yeah, so just to add to that aspect of what Ignacio is doing in the vineyard. Thank you. We still have 5 minutes and the floor is still open for more discussions. Yeah, I guess we are good at this point. So I'll thank everyone for coming. The few announcements that I have is next month we have a specialist coming from NRCS talking about soil health. He is well vested in soil health topics. So he's in charge of Hawaii, he's in charge of California, he's in charge of Arizona, he's in charge of Nevada, like the Southwest. Yeah, so he's really vested in soil health topics. And yeah, it will be interesting to have all of you participating to learn more about this. And we are really looking forward to that. And yeah, thanks to Isaac, Ignacio, Kate, and then Samantha. So thank you to everyone. Go to our website, Commercial Horticulture and Small Acreage. Visit the website. If you have any issue, you can call me with my phone, or you can send an email. And also go to our Instagram page for any more information. The next meeting is going to be on the 5th of June, I think. Let me quickly share the screen here so we go through the next when it is. Okay, just a moment. I think I had this somewhere here. Yeah, I think the next meeting is going to be on the 5th of June, which is the first Monday of June. Yeah. All right. Good. So at this point, thank you all for coming and look forward to our next meeting.